Hey, viewers and viewers, my name is General Red Strategist, and welcome back to Sir You Being Hunted, episode 477. It's time for another podcast-style episode. Unfortunately, my hardcore alphabet challenge, I kind of failed within the first sort of 5 minutes in the last episode, after I'd done so successfully when I'd started it a couple of episodes ago. And then, of course, in true General Red fashion, I just ballsed it up. I think, like I say, probably I'll maybe revisit that challenge and give it another shot, but I may tweak some of the objectives that I actually set for it, namely the Z and X coordinate things. I may tweak those, because the original rule for them was travel in in a fairly straight line from one side of the island to the other. But if I was to do that again in future, what I'd probably do is make the objective a bit more flexible. So rather than having to travel in a perfectly straight line, I'd probably say use the jetties as coordinates and travel between, basically start at one and then make my way to the other one. Not necessarily having to travel in a straight line. I could, it could be the case that I could maybe meander a bit, That's what I'm trying to say and all that. But yes, I didn't really want to talk actually about the hardcore alphabet challenge, but needless to say, it's highly likely that I will give it another shot at some point, just because I think it was an interesting challenge. And who knows, maybe I'll change up some of the letters as well, just for the, sake of variety and all that. Give it another shot, which I think would be good. Because I know Phil was quite interested to actually see me do it when I posted the first episode of that. So, hope you're not too disappointed, Phil, by the fact that I've absolutely flummoxed it in the in the last episode. But like I say, I'll try it again sometime, because you always know how much I like to sometimes recycle old challenges and just do them again for the hell of it. Right. Now, that's not the real thing actually I wanted to talk about in this podcast-style episode. So, obviously, with the way last episode went, the fact that I failed within the first bloody 5 minutes, I then ended up spending, most of the remainder of the episode talking about something that really I've been viewing on YouTube recently. I ended up talking about Jerry Anderson shows, which I can sort of remember from my childhood, and the Jerry Anderson primers on YouTube, stuff like that. Really interesting stuff. But a couple of episodes before last one, obviously I was talking about Disney movies. Like old Alice in Wonderland 1951 or whenever it was that it was released, as well as others. Not just that one. But on a kind of similar subject, I was also thinking recently about another kind of set of movies, which I have seen a few of, and which are, fairly kind of well known and well liked all around the world. And that, of course, is Studio. How do you pronounce it? Is it Studio Ghibli or Studio Ghibli? I think it's Ghibli, isn't it? Is how you pronounce it. And, more than a few of you will know exactly what I'm talking about when I say that. I'm talking about, of course, Japanese anime films, which are specifically made by the studio of one Hayao Miyazaki. And here's the thing, there's a lot of Studio Ghibli movies out there which are absolutely, they're very, very well loved. There's a lot of people out there who absolutely rate and absolutely rave about them. And, I've seen a few myself, and yeah, I'd rave about them as well. I thought they were, there's some pretty good ones out there. But in essence, I'm trying to think, which Studio Ghibli movies have I personally seen? So I've seen, I think the first one I ever saw was probably Howl's Moving Castle, which, Howl's Moving Castle is an interesting one because it's not even it's not even regarded as Studio Ghibli's best animated movie that they've ever done. But I thought it was still very interesting, and my sort of immediate family they quite like it as well. Howl's Moving Castle, of course, is the one about it's set in obviously like a fantasy sort of steampunk world that's clearly sort of inspired by kind of Victorian sort of Edwardian Europe. And it's about the girl who works in a tailor's shop, who basically gets a curse placed upon her, and she turns into an old woman. And then she goes out, to kind of flee society, as it were, and encounters the moving castle of Howl, the magician. And of course, the events unfold. They meet this whole kind of cast of characters, things like this. They go on an adventure, stuff like that. And Howl's Moving Castle is a great one. It's perhaps great as like an introduction to Studio Ghibli, I guess. But the thing is, like I say, critically speaking, it's not even deemed to be Studio Ghibli's best. Because admittedly, the plot is a bit more sort of complex than perhaps it first appears on the surface. But some of the more kind of well-known Studio Ghibli movies, which people do really rave about even. Obviously, there's Spirited Away. Spirited Away is a classic Studio Ghibli movie, and I have seen that one. Studio Ghibli Spirited Away, of course, is the one about the young girl Chihiro who basically travels into the spirit world and basically has to meet a whole sort of interesting bunch of characters and then find her way back, things like that. But that's a fascinating one. What other ones have I seen? My Neighbor Totoro. That's another good, quite family-friendly, good one. There are other ones I've seen. The Wind Rises. There's another one that I've seen. That's actually a different one to the ones I've mentioned so far. That one's sort of like a slightly more kind of sensationalized biopic of an actual real-life person. What's he called? Jiro Horikoshi, who was a Japanese aircraft designer, sort of in the run-up to the Second World War. And that's a fascinating film to watch as well. It's a good one. But the thing is, there's a load of Studio Ghibli movies out there, of course, which I've never watched, but which I'd love to. Obviously, probably the one that a lot of people have heard of is Grave of the Fireflies, which is supposed to be absolutely depressing. It's supposed to be the sort of one that if you don't cry at the end of it, then you are a stone-hearted asshole, basically. That one's set in World War II, I believe, and it's basically about a couple of kids and just about the immense suffering that they go through. It's basically an anti-war film, pretty much. So that's one that's sort of on my list of Studio Ghibli movies which I haven't watched, but which I do think I should watch it, because it's probably a very, very good one, because it's highly regarded. But there are other ones which I haven't seen, which I'd love to see, like Laputa Castle in the Sky. That's supposed to be pretty good. More other ones. Is Porco Rosso? Yeah, that's a Studio Ghibli one, isn't it? That's supposed to be pretty good. So that one too, maybe. I've never actually seen Princess Mononoke. That's another Studio Ghibli. But yeah, another one that's supposed to actually be pretty damn good. So maybe that's another one for the list of Studio Ghibli movies to one day watch. But you know what else is kind of fascinating though about Studio Ghibli movies? If you go on YouTube here and search for something like Studio Ghibli theories, Studio Ghibli movie fan theories, things like that, as you can imagine, you will find some interesting videos. People who are presenting theories about Studio Ghibli movies and that they're actually allegories, or they're allegories for certain things, or they have like hidden themes to them. And, as is often the case with a lot of franchises, some of the theories that people put forward are kind of flimsy. You think, okay, yeah, I mean, if you treat certain elements of the film in isolation, then I see how you could sort of get to that conclusion. But at the same time, you're also ignoring a load of other evidence that contradicts that. But there are, admittedly, one or two theories about certain Studio Ghibli movies which are actually quite, how should I say this, quite disturbing when you sort of delve into them and you think, okay, actually that kind of does make a bit of sense. So for example, you take My Neighbor Totoro, which I mentioned a moment ago. That one, there's like a whole freaking weird interpretation of the main two child characters basically being dead, and everything that's happening, they're actually spirits. Or at least that somewhere partway through the movie they're meant to have actually secretly died or something like that. It's just like people cite various bits of evidence of this, like the fact that apparently, if you've seen My Neighbor Totoro, one of the weirdest sort of elements of that is obviously like the cat bus thing. That's such a strange thing. But apparently, there's a point in the movie where the like Japanese lettering at the top of this cat bus, apparently the translation for it is something like Path to the Graveyard or something. And then there's like lots of death imagery, like Jesus statues and things like that, which a lot of people have looked at and interpreted as basically saying that the two main characters are supposed to be dead. something like that. So that's one of those ones which, on the face of it, when you hear that, you immediately think, oh, what the? But I remember seeing a video, I think it was, what was the channel? Was it Aki Dearest? Who basically was talking about this exact subject. Studio Ghibli movies and the kind of crazy fan theories that people have devised based on certain clues within them. And when it comes to My Neighbor Totoro, there was something in her video on it which was actually kind of disturbing, which was this idea that Hayao Miyazaki basically was to some extent inspired by the events of an actual criminal case in 1963 in Japan, where there was like a 16-year-old girl who got like kidnapped and murdered and raped, and it was just like, Jesus. Yeah, because I think it was a case in 1963 in Sayama, in Japan, where that happened, and apparently the evidence that is supposed to sort of connect this real life incident to what happens in My Neighbor Totoro is to do with the fact that in the real life case, I can't remember if the girl in question who was murdered had like a friend or an older sibling, or a sibling, who committed suicide after, but people have sort of like drawn parallels between that and the events of the movie. And there's also the fact that apparently in one shot there's like an old woman in the movie who has like a crate that has this Japanese lettering on it that translates as Sayama tea or something like that. It's weird, yeah. But that was one of those things which I don't know how truthful that is, because apparently Miyazaki himself said, no, this is not supposed to be inspired by an actual real life murder case. But still people have kind of theorised about it, so maybe it's inspired, maybe it's not. If we take Miyazaki's words at face value, it's not, but who knows. But the other movie, actually, which has some real sort of crazy underlying themes to it, which to me made a lot more sense and kind of made me look at it in a completely new light, was Spirited Away. Because apparently, Spirited Away is actually meant to be an allegory for the Japanese sex industry. Believe it or not. And I'm pretty sure that, I don't know, based on certain things that Miyazaki himself has said, that might actually have been intentional. That's not just a fan theory. He did actually try to make it a little bit of an allegory. And the things that people sort of cite as evidence of this are the fact that, A, the main setting of Spirited Away is a bathhouse in the spirit world. Because apparently back in sort of historical Japan, bathhouses were often scenes of prostitution and stuff like that. The second thing people allude to as a clue there is the fact that the main sort of villainess of Spirited Away is this old woman, and now I can't remember the exact pronunciation of her name. Is it like Baba Yuna or something like that? Something like that. It's something along those lines. But apparently, whatever her name is, it's actually a term for what back in, historical times in Japan, so like the 19th century, her name was basically the term for often an older woman who used to run bathhouses and would often employ prostitutes to provide what were essentially sexual services. Things like that. And the other sort of clue that people often refer to, I mean, there's actually a few of them, there's the fact that the villainess insists on Chihiro taking a new name and calls her Sen, I think it is, which apparently back in, again, sort of 19th century Japan, things like that, prostitutes would often do that. They would take on names for themselves. The other evidence is people sort of looking at how certain spirits in the bathhouse reward Chihiro, or at least attempt to, for helping them out, things like that. And people have interpreted it as basically being an allegory for paying for sexual services. It's just really weird. It's just so strange when you kind of delve into those interpretations of it, and you just sort of come away feeling rather unsettled as a result. But yes, those theories certainly will not go away from my mind anytime soon. So the next time I watch Spirited Away, it's going to be kind of difficult to not see those theories and suddenly find the events and the things that happen in that movie very unsettling. Sorry, I keep saying movie, film. I'm English. What am I doing? Let me have a sip of tea whilst I'm at it. Lovely jubbly. But yes, I need to watch more Studio Ghiblis though. Even Grave of the Fireflies, which I mentioned before, which you would think would be a fairly kind of, straightforward case of a movie that's clearly meant to be haunting, even that one has theories to make it even worse. But yes, I've tried not to spoil too much of those, though, just to, well, in case, it gets to the one day where I decide to actually watch it. Oh, yes. But Studio Ghibli, it's Ghibli even, sorry. There's just movies that are so full of character, and they're so great to watch. Because the thing is, I suppose that's the beauty of them. If you're a kid, you can probably just absolutely appreciate them for how sort of colourful and kind of magical they actually are. Whereas if you're an adult, you probably watch them and you probably pick up on like various themes and things that happen in them, which normally if you were a kid would probably sort of fly right over your head. Kind of like what I was saying really with certain Jerry Anderson shows in the last episode, like Thunderbirds and Captain Scarlet, stuff like that. Definitely themes in those ones, which as a kid you wouldn't necessarily pick up on, but as an adult you'd probably be slightly more attuned to actually spotting, to put it that way. Ugh. But actually, sorry, taking a bit of a momentary diversion, just to talk a little bit about last episode's subject. I know I said I was going to really talk about Studio Ghibli in this episode, but I just want to take an aside, actually. Talking about Jerry Anderson shows actually got me sort of thinking about potential stuff I could do over on my Propagandist channel. Because the thing is, my Propagandist channel, A, I haven't updated in fucking months. So it's kind of starting to feel like a bit of a dead channel at the moment. And B, the content that I have been doing on it has very much been sort of anime based. So like anime reviews, anime discussion videos, namely around Girls and Panzer, stuff like that. But when I was thinking about, obviously, Jerry Anderson shows in the last episode, it got me sort of thinking about maybe I should do some sort of, I don't know, Jerry Anderson show-themed content over on that channel. Because I'm sure I could do, like, I don't know, like tier lists or something. Thunderbirds vehicles, Thunderbirds characters, Captain Scarlet, I don't know. Just ideas, something. It would make for something different on the channel, just to, I don't know, add a bit of variety or something. Alright, going over here. Oh god, don't turn around. Yeah, bugger. Nope. Alright, Sid meat, never mind. My stealth did not turn out very well now, did it? So yes, who knows, maybe, oh wow. This is a awkward peninsula. So yeah, maybe, I don't know, maybe that's an idea for something to do on the Propagandist channel. Because Lord knows, I need to get back to that channel at some point and just put more stuff on it. Because it's been so long since I last did a video over there. But that's the problem. The main reason why I haven't done any Propagandist content recently is just because I've been so busy these last few months. Ever since COVID really, well, ever since COVID hit and over the course of the lockdown, obviously with workplace adaptations and things like that, obviously things became a bit more hectic. And obviously General Red Strategist is my main sort of focus, because, I have at least daily uploads on that, so I need to set aside sufficient time for General Red Strategist, whereas Propagandist is just a side thing, which I just do it whenever I get the time to do it. So of course, that combined with the fact that workplace adaptations and all that mean that there was a long period where things became a bit hectic, and I was just kind of preoccupied with a lot of work-related stuff. Just meant that Propagandist very much kind of became a non-priority for me. But yes, someday I will have to get back to that channel and just try and get some new content on it. Whether that's Girls and Panzer related or whether that is indeed something else. Like I said, thing is, you remember, well, I don't know, if you've seen my Propagandist channel, you'll know that I did once do a Let's Watch of Ruby, Ruby Volume 5. And here's the thing, I'm still behind on Ruby. I haven't watched any of the other volumes. Admittedly, I've not heard some great things about some of the volumes after Volume 5. I don't know, Volume 6 and 7 seem to get a bit of criticism. But I would love to do, I don't know, maybe go back and do those Let's Watches. But the problem is, I don't know, Let's Watches of Ruby, they do take a bit of work to put together. Because obviously I have to sit down, I have to watch the video, I have to record the actual episode itself, and obviously record my webcam and my audio, and then I have to like combine all of that together into a format in obviously in my video editor, where it would be suitable to be uploaded onto YouTube and it wouldn't fall afoul of Rooster Teeth's copyright, and where, you know, Rooster Teeth's kind of permissions would allow me to upload it. Things like that. It's just a bit, yeah, it's awkward, essentially. So maybe one day I'll get back to doing a Let's Watch of RWBY, or then again, maybe I'll just watch it in my own time, I don't know, and then just do reviews on it. I'm really not sure. But yeah, propagandists need to do more. Need to go back to it. But yes, you know what? I think that's enough for a podcast-style episode here today, ladies and gentlemen. So hope you enjoyed this video. Just a, you know, nice little quick chat. Mainly about Studio Ghibli. Jesus Christ. Well, they're all kicking off over there because I guess they don't want the video to end. So yeah, mainly we were talking about Studio Ghibli, talked a little bit about that, and then a few other little things as well. So, nice little sedate episode. Hope you'll join me for episode 478, where we'll continue, well, I was about to say we'll continue on. We're not even doing a challenge right now. So yeah, episode 478, I don't know yet what I'm going to do. Hopefully a challenge. Or maybe I'll get back to the hardcore alphabet one, give it another shot. Who knows? We'll see. But yeah, other than that, Facebook and Twitter links down below. Propagandist channel link below as well. And other than that, a like's always appreciated. Goodbye, everybody. Yep, I did. Don't you worry. I'm in. Don't you worry, old boy. Right, here we are. Yeah, we're going all where eagles dare on, aren't we? Here. Okay. Are we moving? Yeah, we are.
You know, I don't need you telling me what to do, Pops.
Till you prove yourself, I don't care what you think the newspaper. I've trained you for 6 months, and I know what each of them do before they do it.
Answer Faust. That's not good.
You're a liability that could get us all killed. So shut up and follow my lead if you want to live long enough to write your precious story.
I'm over here, but I actually kind of agree with him.
Incoming!
Uh-oh.
Answer, Faust, on it!
Will do.